Hello. It's been a couple of years since I was here, and I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. The first one is the story which is publicly known about what's happened to us in the last 2 years, and then I'm going to tell a story which is going to be probably the most rambling story you'll hear today, and the story most likely to get me in trouble with lawyers today. So let's see what happens, shall we? So first off, there is a small thing to do with Herb. That Herb is an investor in M14. That is literally him investing in M14, so we can get that nice and clear. The reason we have a photo of this is Herb was actually the first signature on our investment document. I've been trying to figure out what's on your laptop in that picture, and I can't, and it bugs me. Anyway, so what happened to me? I created a dating app that connects those with beards to those who want to stroke beards. I created this in 2014 as a piss take of startups. I'm probably going to get sweary. It's when I get excited. I'm sorry. So I created Bristlr, and it did quite well. It got a few tens of thousands of people using it, and that's all very, very good. And I actually came here 2 years ago and pitched in that earlier session, in the startup competition 2 years ago. And I didn't win, and it was a crowd vote, and I'm still bitter. So there's going to be some tension here. And this is as much for me as it is for you, that this is just therapy at this point. So this is summer 2015. I'm on the Ignite Accelerator. I'm pitching here, being all like, Bristlr, Bristlr, beards, beards, ha, 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 ha. It's all very good. We grow and we become M14 Industries, where we allow anyone to make their own Bristlr. So if you have an idea for a dating app, you can head over to m14.industries, be like, make me a dating app for attendees at Thinking Digital, and then an app pops out the end. I would recommend not that one. We won the Northern Stars competition, where I learned that I'm the only one of my peers who can't hold an award properly. Which no one pointed this out until afterwards, so, you know. Won a lovely competition, lots of good things started happening to us. We got funding, which is, you know, easy. We got lots of people to invest in us, and that was all very, very good. And then I went on Dragon's Den. And, you know, it was basically an overnight success because I didn't fuck it up. And that's kind of the end of the story that most people know. But I've got 10 minutes, so let's kind of dig into this a little bit more. I really did invent Bristlr. Like, that is a thing. That's probably the most unlikely thing that happened, that should have happened in my story, but I really did. On the 9th of October, I posted that to my Facebook. The tagline came first. The tagline, it's important to get a good value prop. That tagline was the first part of my career that I made. And then I came up with the name, and then I made the website, and it was a fake website, obviously, because who would make a real one? People started trying to sign up, and I was like, oh, shit, my bluff has been called on this. So we made actual Bristlr, and this is taken directly from our very first pitch deck. These are real numbers from the first few months of our existence. In the making of these slides, I've been going through all of my old notes, and it's amazing how stupid I was and how little I knew. But this is the traction that we had. And these graphs that go up and to the right were good enough to get us on Ignite, the startup accelerator based up here in Newcastle. And I commuted from Manchester to Newcastle for 3 months to go on Ignite. Fun fact of, I guess, the first interesting secret, I almost died on my first car ride up because my car tyre went out on the motorway at high speed. But fun times. I'm not saying these are going to be fun or interesting secrets, I'm just saying that they're secrets. So we went through Ignite, and we start talking to investors, and we were sort of pitching M14, and investors were sort of a little all over the place, and so okay, You can't say the phrase Tinder for beards to a VC. I'm just putting that out there. Like, if you say that to a VC, they look at you like, what are you doing here? No, go away. I want to deal with this sensible parking company. And so we were pitching M14 because we've grown and Bristlr's not working, so we pivot, and it's not a pivot technically, but anyway. And then something rather amazing happened, and we started selling products before we'd really built M14, which is exciting. We landed our first client because they saw us pitching at a startup competition. And we were talking about how M14 can do all of this amazing stuff where you type in the app that you want, and you get the app out the end. And someone came up to us afterwards and were like, how much does it cost? We had to invent how much it cost. And then we charged them, and they became our first client, which is very, very exciting. I'm going to talk about funding now. So funding. So we've got the product, we've got a bit of traction, we've become M14, and funding fucking sucks. Like, it's genuinely the most stressful thing I have ever done. And we did successfully close a small round of angel investors, and interesting secret, we actually closed 11 hours before the end of the tax year, which for people who know how SEIS investment works, yeah, I didn't sleep very well for a while. And investment is very, very, very hard. It was probably 6 months, several hundred meetings to find the right people, and to find the right people who want to give you money. And to find the right people who want to give you money who haven't, sorry, just bought a house, which is a surprisingly frequent thing that happens when you're fundraising. So, okay, let's move on from fundraising. Fundraising is an absolute nightmare. So we've successfully fundraised, we've successfully got a company that's going somewhere, and it turns out, and I'd forgotten about this, I'd applied for Dragon's Den back when we were just Bristlr. And they phoned me up, and they say, hey, this is blah-de-blah from BBC doing a phone interview for Dragon's Den. And I'm confused, and I think this is kind of a joke, but I go with it because, you know, I've got a sense of humor. And the first thing that happens, or first thing you should probably know with Dragon's Den, is that from when I put in the application and when that episode aired, I had 2 birthdays, and they weren't the same one. That's how long the process takes. So we applied when we were just Bristlr. We got a phone interview, which nailed. And then we go for like a video interview where they ask you some questions and you pitch to video, and you're pitching to some producers. And they start telling us about the due diligence that they need to do. And this is happening around the same time as we're closing our investment round. So I'm freaking out about investors, and Dragon's Den are saying, cool, all we need is a list of every one of your investors and a signed letter from them all saying that they waive all of their rights and you can negotiate on their behalf. You don't know. No, you can never do that to an investor who you're saying, hey, put your trust in me. By the way, can you sign away all of your rights? While simultaneously signing this thing which guarantees you some rights. The whole thing was a complete mess, and we ended up turning down Dragon's Den. They gave us a filming date 2 weeks after we closed our round. There was no way we could get the due diligence done. There was no way that I would be able to chill the fuck out enough after closing our round, and so we pulled out. And that would have been the end of the story were it not for someone at the BBC loving us a great deal, and they moved a load of the filming dates around so that we could get a later filming slot. And we were able to get all the signatures that we needed. Only one of our investors showed our request to their lawyer, who said, don't do that. But we managed to pull him round. Lawyers. So anyway, whilst I was there, I took some covert photos because this thing only ever happens once, and I want to, take it to the bank as much as I can. And these have never left my phone before today, and I think you'll find them very exciting. A door. So on the day of filming, you turn up at 6 a.m. and I'm not going to tell you some of the secrets because it will ruin the illusion. But that's not a warehouse. Or it's not an old warehouse. Spoilers. So you turn up early in the morning, you're met by a producer, you see the 5 or 6 other people who are pitching that day. They're not the people who I was on the episode with. They jumble around the order. So you see someone there who's got an energy drink that's made out of natural products. You see someone there who's going to be waxing some people. You see a sandwich bar, and I turn up with literally no props. I'm the only person there with no props, and I'm feeling very inadequate because everyone has props. They were asking if I could just hold an iPad when I walk into the den so that I've got something to hold. But I was like, there's no point. I'm just holding an iPad. So you go through all your props, and oh, next photo. Check that out. I'm really slyly pretending to check my emails, but I'm actually taking a photo of the ceiling. You know, you can't get this anywhere else. And if there's anyone from the BBC here, too late, you know. So I go in and I've got this ask, and I start talking to one of the producers, and they point out the fact that if you ask for 10%, it's the most common ask, and it's the thing that gets the dragon's backs up. And they're like, oh, 10%, or something. That's my impression of them all. And then also, I was looking for 100 grand. And apparently, that's like a red flag. If they hear a number under 100 grand, they're likely to just be like, it's fine, it's only 80 grand, let's go for it. If they hear 100 grand, they're like, fuck that guy. Like, I'm going to get all the numbers out of it. That's why, in the end, we changed that morning to be 80 grand for 15%. And then you go up to the green room and you sit around freaking out, and they steam press your shirt for you, which is nice. And then you go into the den, and you go up in the lift. It's definitely a real lift, not a fake lift. It's not a set. Some secrets I will take to the grave. You stand around, and they have all these hidden cameras everywhere, and you step into the lift, and it takes forever because they film all of these stupid, annoying shots. So you're sat there for, it must be like 3 or 4 minutes, just like looking and tense and feeling tense, and then the doors open, and there's Deborah Meaden, bright red, and you walk forwards hoping that you find your mark, and you start pitching. And it is genuinely a 2-minute pitch followed by Q&A. They don't edit down the pitch very much. They just edit down the Q&A portion. So I was in there for an hour and a half. Some people have been in there for 3 hours, and they edit it down to 10 minutes. It's so that they get enough footage to make you look like however they want you to look. But the reason why I've screen capped this is the moment where I basically won Dragon's Den, and it's in my pitch when I give the tagline of Bristlr, and every single one of them, including Grumpy Peter Jones, all laugh. I'm like, I've got you. Because if you can make an investor laugh, then they're your friend, and they will be nice to you. And it worked. The fact that we'd closed around 2 months earlier helped a great deal. They edited that out. But we closed around with 2 ex-MDs of Match.com and Herb Kim, and they were just impressed by, obviously, the Herb connection. And so they were all like, OK, good, let's do this. And they were all really nice to me. And I successfully got an offer from all 5 of them, and then closed one with Nick and Peter. Before I accepted it, I went to the back of the room because I forgot Nick's name. If you rewatch the episode, I said I'd like to accept the offer from you 2. And it's because whilst I had remembered Nick's name, I wasn't 100% sure that I'd remembered it correctly. So after you finish this and you shake everyone's hand, they whisk you away. They just basically put a coat over your head and bundle you away to a little tiny room. And that's a photo of the potato that they gave me. Like, it was from a canteen. It's not like just a potato. And you're just sat there in a bit of a daze in this tiny little room, and there's a door to the room. That's also the end of my secret covert photos. But yeah, and you basically just sit there waiting for someone to come get you and tell you what to do. You're not allowed to go back up to the green room. You're not allowed to talk to anyone else. You just sit in that little room, and if you're me, you phone your sister, and you're like, the fuck just happened? Like, I cannot believe this. This is all super weird. And that's kind of the end of the filming day. They just kind of hurry you out the room. They say, our lawyers will be in touch. And the BBC never have contacted me again, except to tell me when the filming date, when the air date was. So that's kind of where the public story ends to an extent. We released this information a week after it aired. Because investment, you can look up investment, and it turns out we never closed that investment. Because 2 weeks after we went through Dragon's Den, we were talking to one of our clients, and we said to the client, oh, we're getting ready to do investment. And they said, oh, we'll invest. And we said, how much? And they gave us an offer that was 4 times better than the one that we got in the den. And we discussed this with Nick and basically concluded that you can't agree 20% on TV and then close for 6% because it makes everyone look like a bit of a... And so the deal collapsed, even though we ended up with more money and giving away less equity and everyone's happy, but we needed to make the article look good. And then the show airs, and I think this sums up what happens when you go on Dragon's Den. We went from 0 to 6,000 simultaneous users in about 20 seconds across 2 separate platforms, on the M14 site and on Bristlr. We had 600 inbound sales requests within about 24 hours. We made 10 grand in sales within a week, and everything was on fire, but it was fine. And that's basically the end of my story. If you want to know more secrets, then I guess find me at the after party, and I'll gladly tell you them all. Ask me about Valium. OK, thank you.